Hi, this is John Randall. You're listening to NPR. And I'm going to talk very soft and boring for you. No, I'm kidding. Real music, real life. Real life, real music. I knew it the other backwards. Hey, y'all, this is John Randall, and you're listening to Real Life, Real Music.
Real Life, Real Music Radio with your host, Kyle Hutton.
All right. Vince Gillius, I always say, hey, kids. I always thought that was a little bit offensive. It's like, really? We're not kids.
At this point, as old as I am, you can call me kid.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Anytime you want. I will take it. Well, man, I just told the group, and I know I told you earlier, that you've been on our Real Life, Real Music wish list for a long time. I've had the opportunity to kind of watch you, from those seats, throughout your career in a lot of different facets. Enjoy the music that you make, whether it was you behind the mic or you producing something that another artist put out. And man, thank you for being here. All the way in from Nashville, Tennessee, took time out from kids starting school, left his wife at home. Hopefully he's still married when he gets back. And, thanks for being here.
She's smart.
I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions tonight.
Dude, hey, man, I'm here. Let's hang out. But
you pick a song. You just pick something you want to start with.
The first song.
Yeah, the first one.
I always say know your audience.
You break the ice.
I always say know your audience. And this is the one I always mess the words up too, so I'll get this one out of the way here. I wrote this with my buddy Shane McAnally, and then I produced it on Pat Green and Lyle Lovett.
Oh, come on.
And it's a song about Texas, but the funny thing is we wrote it in Nashville, and then we recorded it in Shreveport, and then we did Lyle's vocals in Oklahoma. And I was like, that's kind of a little disingenuous. But I can only do this song in Texas. I've made the mistake of trying to play this in North Carolina once, and it did not go well. Girls from Georgia are sweeter than peaches. The ones from California made for bathing suits and beaches. The Minnesota gals sure feel out a sweater. But the girls from Texas, just a little bit better. You can go woo and all that. Yeah, Mississippi's got all them Delta queens. Louisiana Cajun girls beat all I've ever seen. Ever kiss a girl from Kansas, you damn sure won't forget her. The girls from Texas, just a little bit better. Well, I feel the southern draw from the ones in Arkansas, and they're so sexy in New Mexico. But the only Tennessee ain't in Tennessee. She's waiting for me in San Antonio. Up in Oklahoma, they're more than just okay, and they don't come more fun than LABMA. But if you can find a Lone Star gal, boy, you better get her, 'cause the girls from Texas, just a little bit better. And then Jack Ingram usually whistles through here. You feel like you're on a horse. Yeah, they don't come no finer than the girls in Carolina. I'm talking north, I'm talking south. But the only Tennessee ain't in Tennessee. She's waiting for me up in old Cal Town. Out in Colorado, man, they can melt the snow. Out in Nevada, they're always putting on a show. Yeah, New York got the fashion, and Florida got the weather. that red river, you'll stay there forever. 'Cause the girls from Texas, just a little bit better. Gotta know your audience, right?
Man, what a great! I've loved that song. Of course, I heard Pat's version first, but then, man, it was really, really cool to watch Lyle come out on stage and sing that with you as part of your induction into the Texas Songwriters Hall of Fame. So, I mean, here you are. Let's talk about that night for a minute. Okay. Here you are in Austin, Texas, being inducted into the Texas Songwriters Hall of Fame. Long way from Duncanville, Texas, you know, a lot of miles between there and where they handed you that award. But what did that feel like as a kid that grew up in Texas, you know, with music as a big part of his life, to be honored in that way?
I mean, we're all Texans. Most of us are anyway, and you know how we are about our home state. That's the one. I mean, that's the one you want. I wanted anyway, you know. It's kind of like, you know, your home state and your peers and everybody patting you on the back and kind of saying, "Hey, job well done," you know. And it's those moments too where it's like when it's a really frustrating business, and just when you're ready to kind of like throw the towel in, somebody gives you a little boost like that, and you're like, "All right, I'll play the back nine." Let's, you know, it's like you pard holding on there, you know.
I love it.
But it really was. It's an honor, and just that whole show is just so well put together, and
it's amazing.
It was fun. It was a great night. I'm glad you were there.
Yeah, Texas Heritage Songwriters Association, if you want to check it out. So, is there any like one or two people, like if I made you pick one or two people that are in the Hall of Fame that you just go, "Man, I can't believe I get to be on this list"?
Oh yeah, the whole list.
Yeah, but I'm making you pick. For you, influences for you.
I mean, like Bob McDill is one. People don't think about Bob McDill.
Yeah,
he wrote everything. He wrote almost all the Don Williams hits. He wrote "Good Old What Do You Do with Good Old Boys Like Me," which to me is like probably one of the greatest country songs ever put together.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. And obviously Guy, you know, I got to spend quite a bit of quality time with Guy and wrote some songs over the years. And so it's kind of cool. I was bummed he couldn't be there for it, but that's a big one. And Christofferson, you know, all the poets, Steve Earle. It's just cool. It's just cool.
Okay, so since you said it,
and Billy Gibbons, from ZZ Top.
Yeah, it's not just country, right?
Yeah,
not just country and folk and Americana. But since you just said it, I mean, Guy Clark, what a just stalwart in the songwriting community, and you know, fortunately, there's a lot of people out there that can tell stories about what Guy was like. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience it firsthand, but I do get to hear it through a lot of my buddies. Maybe pick one of the songs that you wrote with Guy.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me see. I'll try this one.
Any Guy Clark fans out there? Okay. By the way, I'm putting John on the spot. I mean, he has no idea what I'm going to ask him.
For a second. This is like the first one we wrote. Guy was a trip. I always say I wrote this song. I spent the night at his house one weekend. I spent a week at his house one night, however you want to put that. It was always an adventure, for sure. But you always got a great song, and I will tell you, the first time I ever met Guy, I was 19 years old, and I was playing with an artist named Holly Dunn that was from San Antonio area, and we played. We went to Europe, and we were playing in Switzerland, Gstaad, Switzerland. And Guy was on the trip, and I was in awe the whole trip, and I was terrified to talk to him. And somehow I ended up sitting on the side of the stage watching his set with Sonny Curtis, who was also a legendary songwriter and was in the Crickets. And I realized real fast that I was in over my head in the drinking game with these guys. And so I'm sitting there drinking with, completely not up to par in the way that they could party. But we're sitting there hanging out, and Guy walks off the stage, and I'd never met Guy. He walks right up to me and he goes, "Let's go pick." And I was like, all right. And he goes, "Where's your room?" And I was like, our hotels were like right across from the venue. I go, "Well, it's over here." I'm rooming with our drummer, We go marching, following Guy. Here goes Guy, just wide open. Picks up Billy Joe Shaver, Steve Young, Johnny Rodriguez, Eddie Shaver, and a whole bunch of people we don't know. Just a crew. And by the time we come rolling into this hotel room at like midnight, I open the door, and our drummer, who I'm rooming with, he's cashed out in the bed in his tidy whities. And Guy just flips the light on and looks at him and goes, "Get up, we're gonna have to move those beds." So I'm looking at Tim, I'm like, sorry, Guy, what am I gonna do? And so Guy picks the beds up and pushes them up against the wall and just builds this whole thing out of all the chairs, and he's stealing chairs out of the lobby, and he just turned it into the Bluebird right there in front of everybody. And I immediately walked to my balcony and started throwing up off the balcony. And I missed the entire party. I just remember Johnny Rodriguez walking out there and going, "You're going to be okay, kid. I've been here a million times." And I thought, no, this is not what I wanted. So, but the funny thing about that whole story was that, so fast forward, like years later, I had the one of the greatest things I ever had in my career was getting to tour with Emmylou Harris. She's been a huge part of my life and career, and she would have these Super Bowl parties and stuff at her house, and Guy and Susanna were at the party. And at this point, I had got to know Guy through Emmy, and I walked that back, and he's telling that story to somebody. And then he said, so I'm just listening. I'm listening to him tell everybody this story. And then he says, "I don't know who that poor little son of a bitch was, but he threw up off the balcony all night. I kind of felt bad for him." I was like, "Hey, Guy, that drunk son of a bitch was me." And we laughed. He laughed so hard. He loved that. And that's kind of when I really got under. He did the whole, "All right, you're cool," But this is one of the first songs we wrote, and it's got the word repartee in it. He called me after we'd written the song and goes, "I think we should use the word repartee in there." And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but you're Guy Clark, so we shall." I don't know if I'll remember the words of this. Smoke up your dress, don't let them break your heart. Don't start thinking that life's a mess, you've done just fine so far. And when the weight of the world starts getting you down, you're all out of repartee. And if your smile turns to a frown, it ain't no trouble to me. Well, trouble be gone, trouble be damned, love be trouble free. Come on home any old time, it ain't no trouble to me. It ain't no trouble to me. Well, I got a shoulder with your name on it. You need a safe place to cry. I got ears to hear anything you fear, and a tongue that will not lie. Yeah, I'm gonna love it till the day I die. That's a guarantee. Tomorrow'll be another day, but it ain't no trouble to me. The trouble be gone, trouble be damned, love be trouble free. Come on home any old time, it ain't no trouble to me. trouble to me. It ain't no trouble to me. Yeah, trouble be gone, trouble be damned, love be trouble free. Come on home in your time. It ain't no trouble to me. It ain't no trouble to me, baby. It ain't no trouble to me. It ain't no trouble to me.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Come
you.
on. How many cigarettes did he smoke during the
lot.
writing of that song?
A lot. It was funny. I'd always show up over there about 10 and pour a cup of coffee, and we'd go down. He had this cool little workspace because he painted and he built guitars, and it was always just cool to be over there. And he would roll a cigarette, but he also had something in the actual cigarette. and he'd pour a tequila, and so I would just kind of let him hit his groove, because if I tried to keep up with him, I was going to be in trouble. So I would like maybe have my first drink about 3 and catch up with him, but we'd always get a really great song written.
Yeah.
You know, one time I did spend the night over there. He got drunk and gave me his 1952 D18.
Wow.
And I should have left with it. But I had no business driving, obviously. And woke up the next day, and we were having coffee, and I said, "Hey, you still going to let me have this guitar?" He goes, "Hell no, you can't have that guitar." And then Susanna came downstairs, and she said, everybody called me Randy growing up. My real name is John Randall Stewart, and it's a long story why, RCA shortened it to John Randall, but everybody I grew up with called me Randy. And she's like, "Randy, honey, you look like hell. You want some aspirin? You want some Tylenol?" I was like, "Yeah, Susanna, I could really use a couple of Tylenol." I was dying. And and so they leave, and comes back, and Guy throws a couple of Tylenol in front of me, and I pop them with a cup of coffee, and he turns around and he goes, "You might just want to take one of those or a half of one of those." Yeah, right? And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "They don't do shit for me, but they mess Susanna up for a couple of days." And I was like, "What?" I said, "I just took both of them." And Guy went, "Uh-oh." And I turned into Elvis Presley the rest of that day, man. I was just dating my wife, and I was like, "I need you to come pick me up." I can't.
That's awesome.
I still don't know what they were either. He named something I'd never even heard of,
But it was good. It was good.
No, it was not good.
So speaking of Elvis,
Yeah.
no, we had one of your really, really good buddies, who's a cool rock and roller in here.
Yeah.
A few months ago, Mr. Jack Ingram.
Oh, yeah.
And Jack blessed us with some of the work from the project that you guys did together called the Marfa Tapes.
Yeah.
But I've learned that if Jack Ingram's ever involved in a project that has multiple people involved in it, that if I want the real story, I should ask the other people.
Yeah. Well, you know what Jack's involvement was, right? Yeah, exactly.
So tell us, the Marfa Tapes, man, Grammy Awards, and
that was
all kinds of stuff. For those of you, if you're familiar with it, I'm talking about the Marfa Tapes, made famous by Miranda Lambert, Jack Ingram, and John Randall, produced ACM Song of the Year. It is just an amazing project, and not only is John a great songwriter and a great musician, you're going to learn more about that when we talk about kind of his musical influences and upbringing, but John has been involved in producing some of the most important music coming out of country music for the last decade. And how many of you went to the George Strait Parker McCullum big event over at Kyle Field? John's produced the last few Parker McCollum records. I mean, he is really having an impact in his field of skill and influence. And so, Marfa Tapes, I just want to hear, a little bit about how that was born, and then I don't know, in layman's terms, how you captured it and play one of your favorite songs.
Yeah, it really was an organic thing. I mean, we've all been friends forever. Me and Jack and Miranda forever. And she was having a tough run in 2015, and I've been going out to Marfa and hanging out in Big Ben and Marfa for years and years, like 25 years maybe. I've been going down there, just kind of sneaking off. And I'm always talking about it because I'm in love with it. And she was like, "You're always talking about this place. I want to get the hell out of Dodge. Is there somewhere we can go down there?" And of course, Jack is friends with Liz Lambert. And he said, "Yeah, I bet Liz will let us go stay at her ranch down there." And so this is classic rock star stuff out of Miranda right here. It's just so funny. She calls me and she goes, "Okay, I just got off the phone with your wife, and here's the deal. I'm picking you up tomorrow, and we're going to fly to Midland together and go see Jack play, and then we're going to do a road trip to Marfa for the week." I said, "Okay, well, if you cleared it with my wife, let's go." And so that's what we did. We went down and we drove through Monahan's, where this guy's uncle had the law and all that stuff. We drove through there. We did a whole thing, and we just checked out, and we were just being down there as friends, but we had guitars, and of course you can't help but write songs. And that whole first trip everybody was going through something, and so it's a lot of sad songs, and it was almost like therapy writing. I'd just pick up the guitar and start playing a riff, and we'd just start singing something really sad and talking about it, but it turned out to be some really beautiful songs, and we had so much fun that we were like, we have to do this again. And so we went back the next year and we wrote a handful of songs, and then we went back the next year. It became a yearly little trek for us. And the last one that we did, we were out at Cibolo Creek Ranch, which I can't say enough about if you ever make a trip out there. It's like something that shouldn't exist. And we were hanging out there, and we decided, we sat in the car, we all poured a tequila, and we sat out in the truck, and we turned it up and listened back to all the work tapes that we had from all the last couple of years we'd been going out there. And it just kind of became obvious, and it was really more like, I thought, for me, just thinking more business like I do sometimes. I was like, your fans would love this, Miranda. They'd love to hear you singing these songs. I think that could be a really cool thing. Get a little bit of a story. Of course, Miranda, she loves to shine the light on everybody else, and she's, so she's like, "No, we need to do it together." I always say, let's start a band and run a perfectly good friendship, Let's start a band and break up. But so that was kind of her idea. It's like, no, let's come back down here and let's just do it the way that we do it. And so we literally took Brandon Bell, who is one of the engineers that I work with. He's a Grammy Award winning, incredible engineer, works on a lot of the Dave Cobb records and stuff. And he's one of the fewer engineers I know that go, okay, here's the deal. We're going to take 2 microphones. We're going to go sit around a campfire and we're going to record a record. And he was like, okay, let's just make it happen. And so we did. And I honestly thought, well, we'll just put it out and it'll be kind of a fun thing. But it actually got legs. We were nominated for CMA, ACM, and Grammy, which is really cool that it was able to fit into that world being so raw and real. And it was funny because Miranda knew I'd try to produce it. So she would pour me a tequila. And I was just coming off of the first COVID before all the, we almost didn't make the record. I was testing every day before we flew down there because I was so sick. So I'd lost about 10 pounds. So I looked really good in the documentary and the photos. I was like, yeah, I lost about 10 or 12 pounds. That looks pretty good. But I was so weak, and Miranda she would force tequila down my throat around noon because she's like, I don't want you producing. I just want you to shut up and sing. And I was like, we're going to do one pass, and that's all we're going to do. So we did. That's the way we did it. And Yeah, it was really cool.
So what was one of your favorite tracks?
One of my favorite. This is one of my favorites. We saw a rain. It doesn't rain down there a lot, and we saw this. Where we are, you can kind of see down this valley, and we saw this cloud, and you know how cool it is when you see rain falling out in the distance. And I just started messing around with this little guitar riff, a little bit of a Lyle Lovett kind of thing. I was almost going. I almost did it, but anyway, this is a song that came out of that. Sorry, I tuned because I care. And for a disclaimer, I know I look like I have sunglasses on, but I'm blind as a bat. And when I ordered these, they're a little bit darker than they were supposed to be, and I left my other glasses in the car. So I'm Eric Churching you guys a little bit tonight. Yeah, I'm that cool.
Texas, it hardly ever rains, but when it does, it's amazing grace. And you can hear the cattle from a million miles away to a cowboy's heart. It's amazing grace. And the church bells ring in the little bitty towns, and the people miles around just to hear that old piano and feed their faith with the word of God and amazing grace. Watching the sunset, drinking whiskey, lemonade, when it falls, it's amazing grace. And she looks like an angel with the moonlight on her face when she smiles. It's amazing grace. And the church bells ring in the little bitty towns, and the people come from miles and miles around just to hear that old piano and feed their faith with the word of God and amazing grace. Church bells ring in little bitty towns, and the people come from miles and miles around just to hear that old piano and feed their faith with the word of God and amazing grace. Out in West Texas, it hardly ever rains, but when it does, it's amazing grace.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Love that one. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go way back to to the fact that you and I were, just a few miles down the road from each other growing up. I was in Cedar Hill, Texas. You were in Duncanville, right up Highway 67 there. And man, you had quite the musical upbringing. While I was busy trying to escape my father's country music into bands like Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses and Poison and Whitesnake and Motley Crue and Tesla. Like, let's go down the list, right?
Yep.
You were head first into, by God, bluegrass music. And tell us a little bit about the picking circles at your house and how you got started as a player.
Yeah, so my dad was, but just real quick, in high school I actually had a hair metal band and a bluegrass band, just to put it,
both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, but the bluegrass band was actually getting paid, and the hair metal band was not. So. My dad is retired. My parents live out in Kaufman now. My dad's a retired Dallas police officer. My mom worked for the fire department for years. And I actually thought that's what I would do, was go into one of those growing up, because I was around policemen and firemen my whole life. But my dad was a really great songwriter, a great musician, and played bluegrass. My mom played dobro, and so every weekend, and when I was growing up, there was a bit of a bluegrass scene in Texas, and so my parents were hauling me around all over Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma to bluegrass festivals. We had people at our house every weekend, or we were at somebody else's house, and so that was just a big part of my life. And I started playing. I think we put together my first band contest in 5th grade that we were in. But like Emily and Marty from the Dixie Chicks, they had a band called Midnight Express, and the Cox family, and who else was down? I mean, it was a whole crew. Vince was kind of running in that crew. He was a little bit older than me, but Vince Gill was kind of running in all that bluegrass scene. There was a bunch of festivals around, so that's where it all started for me, was growing up on those records and growing up and playing all those festivals.
Yeah, is there something like I don't know, from way back, from some of your bluegrass influences that you ever play when you're playing live?
Not a lot, not too much. There was a band called I guess everybody wants like a bluegrass thing, like that kind of thing. Well, the days are dark and the nights are lonely since you left me all alone. I loved you so, my little darling. I've worried so since you've been gone. Sweetheart of mine, can't you hear me calling? How many times I loved you best? I mistreated you, Lord, and I'm sorry. Come back to me as my request. Anyway, there's that thing. There's that. I'm out of shape. I can't even.
Oh man, I love that.
It's been a minute. It's an old Bill Monroe song.
Golly, I mean, I bet as a kid when that stuff was going on in the picking circle, you're just sitting there hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, and that was slow. It's a lot faster than that, but it's been a minute. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so then from Duncanville, hair bands, bluegrass bands, when did you make the trek to Nashville, Tennessee, and decide that you were gonna put down some roots there and make this happen?
Well, I kind of didn't. It was kind of naive, I was in a bluegrass band here. I was working at Lancaster Music.
Oh yeah.
I had a job working over there, and I had a buddy of mine that was a bluegrasser that had moved to Nashville. He was a little bit older than me. We used to play all these festivals, and he had been working with this country artist, and he was like, "Hey man, we need a tenor singer, but we need a bass player. And if you can learn all these parts, I got us a gig, and we're going to go open for Roseanne Cash, and it's all this stuff and whatever." So I did. I quit my band. I loaded my stuff up. I'm like, I'm going to go hang out in Nashville and just kind of see what's going on. And I got there and that whole thing fell through. So I was like, well, do I turn around and go back to Texas, or do I kind of hang it out here? I got a job through a friend delivering balloons in a gorilla outfit. And I was like, look, Mom, I made it. I quit this cool bluegrass band and now I got this gig. But I hung around. What I loved about it was when I got there, and you got to realize too, like we talked about this earlier, but it's like that was 1987. And so the whole like thing that like all my buddies like Jack and Pat and Randy, that whole Red Dirt and all that stuff was not happening, you know. I mean, Willie had just moved back. Waylon was still hanging out there. And all my bluegrass heroes were there. Like I wanted to play with, and eventually got to, which was a blessing, but work with Sam Bush and Bela Fleck and Jerry Douglas, and all those guys were there. And we were hanging out at the Station Inn every night and just seeing all these incredible musicians playing, and I was hooked on that. But what was interesting is when I got to town, I also realized that, oh, Guy Clark's here, Steve Earle's here. I saw Towns get kicked out of a bar one night.
Wow.
Delbert McClinton, Gary Nicholson, like there was a Rodney Crowell, Steve Earle, like there was this whole crew of cats, and bluegrassers and Texans are so much alike, and the subgenres of those music are so much alike. It's a culture, and it's a group, and the bluegrassers find each other and they hold on tight. Those are still some of my best friends, are the people I first met, and the Texans all run into each other and they all look after each other. It's this funny thing when somebody comes to town, you go, where are you from? I'm from Texas. Oh, what part? Then we start that whole thing, and it's like, well, why don't you come over to my office and bring me some songs or whatever. So that I learned that early on, that there was a little bit of a cool scene going on in both worlds, you know.
So how did you hook up with? Because obviously, I'm going to guess you were one of the younger, if not the youngest, member of the Nash Ramblers, playing for Emmylou Harris. Like, give us the little history on how that happened.
Well, you couldn't tell from the last song, but I used to be a tenor. I used to be able to sing that high. But that was the thing. I knew bluegrass and knew tenor, and there was a lot of people wanted a harmony singer that could play acoustic and mandolin and those kind of things. And Emmy had just done, she had a band, or they did a record called Angel Band, and Vince Gill was in that band, and Carl Jackson was in that band. Both tenor singers that played guitar. They were both like heroes of mine, obviously. Well, obviously, because we all were bluegrass guys. And I'd actually met Vince before everything had blown up for Vince. I went out and played a couple of gigs with him on the road, and I know that Emmy would have probably had Vince out there, but he had his deal, and he was going to do his thing. Carl Jackson had been on the road with Glenn Campbell forever, and he's like, I don't want to be on the road. So they were looking for somebody that could sing tenor, and Carl had heard me and had introduced me to everybody and said, hey, you should go play for, or told Emmy you should have this guy come over and hang out. And so I was not really a great guitar player. I was an okay guitar player. And in Nashville, I was not a very good guitar player, but I could sing really high. And that's what Emmy needed more than she needed a lead guitar player. And I could play enough bluegrass. But what was great is I was in a band with two legendary musicians. I mean, a whole band of legendary musicians, but guys that could show me a lot of stuff on guitar. And so that first year on the road was me learning how to become a lead guitar player on the road. It was terrifying.
That's crazy.
It was terrifying.
Sink or swim, buddy.
Yeah, it was terrifying. There were nights I was like, please fire me. Just send me home. Don't make me do this. But she believed in me so much. She's so awesome and hung in there with me.
Is there, do you cover any Emmylou?
Man, I really don't. I always sing harmony.
Yeah.
It was just always. Yeah. That's what I loved. Yeah, she's the best. Amazing. She is the best.
Okay, so then let's fast forward from being involved in that band and really kind of honing your chops to you getting signed and putting out some records as an artist. 95-ish, mid 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the other thing too. It's like, if you know anything about the history of Emmy's band, it's like Ricky Skaggs, Rodney Crowell, Albert Lee, Tony Brown, Emery Gordon. All these guys were either solo artists or producers, like everybody that came out of her band. And so they were always looking at who was, paying attention to who was in her bands. And through a couple of the band members that had been around forever, I met a lot of the record company guys. And Garth Fundus, I was a huge fan of all the records Garth Fundus made. He did the Don Williams records. He did the Newgrass Revival records. I was the biggest Revival fan in the world. And Keith Whitley, he did the Keith Whitley records, all the Trish Yearwood stuff. And he owned a studio there. And when he became the head of A&R for RCA, Sam Bush, who had been in Newgrass Revival, was really good friends with him. And so he hooked me up with Garth, and that's kind of how I ended up over at RCA.
Gotcha. Well, can you play?
Probably not if it's on the first record.
From what you don't know, This Heart. Do you remember that one?
I don't.
Okay, you pick one from one of the first records.
My kids give me grief all the time. I don't even know if I can play one. I might be able to play. I don't know if I can remember the words to this or not.
Those are the things that nobody tells you. Those are the things that nobody knows. There's a key, but you'll never find it. Up to the house where nobody goes. Standing in line down at the station, hundreds of men without a home. There's some things that nobody tells you, deep in their hearts where nobody goes. What you don't know. You'd be surprised by what you don't know. Deep in the night, 1,000 questions. You gotta see right through the dark. You gotta hear and not even listen, 'cause nobody tells you who you are. What you don't know. You'd be surprised by what you don't know. What you don't know. You'd be surprised by what you don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so out of I look at your career, and you've got so many different facets of your career. Okay, so you basically go to graduate get your PhD as a musician working for Emmylou Harris. You get a deal. And you're writing songs this whole time, right? Yeah. So, and then you get a deal, and you go out on the road as an artist. What are what are some of the things that you think you learned as an artist while you were out on the road doing, because there's some things you can't learn other than just doing it over and over and over again. And now you get the opportunity to help so many artists in a lot of ways, including, we haven't even talked about Big and Loud Texas yet, but we're gonna get there.
Sure.
But what did you learn during that part of your career that you think's having a profound effect on what you do now?
I don't know. It's interesting. I actually I had 5 record deals. And what I should have learned on the first time is that I didn't want a record deal in Nashville. I was chasing the wrong things, I think. Okay. And there was a balance that I kind of missed with that. And for me, a couple of things I learned was, one, I was coming out of, I'd been touring with Emmylou, I'd been touring with Newgrass Revival, I'd been out with Vince, I'd been out doing, I say Newgrass Revival, Sam Bush, Sean Cowan, and I was a music head. I was a nerd. I wanted to just absorb music and guitar playing and whatever. And I was trying to fit in with people that were talking about product and market share and, and realizing that trying to get a song on the radio and fit into that, well, I think what was disheartening was realizing that my song had to be just benign enough to make people not turn the channel, because the whole deal is it's the filler between the Geico commercials. I mean, that's kind of the disheartening thing for me. It was like, oh wow, so it's not what I thought it was. Like I'm just there to keep you from changing the channel. And so I never could find where that was for me, but I had a blast on the road and I made so many good friends, and that was like me and Dirks met each other before he ever had a deal. Like, that's what's so funny. I sound name droppy when I start talking about everybody I worked with, but so many of my friends that are now flying around on their own jets. I don't have a jet. They're flying around. I get to fly on their jets every now and then. And I don't have to pay for it. That's awesome. But no, it's just because we were all coming up together. Yeah. And we were all kind of trying to get deals, trying to get something going out and doing radio tours, playing radio appreciation shows together. I always tell Kenny Chesney, it's like, you owe me half your career. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, because I played a ton of free shows to get you moved into heavy rotation from the label, right? They trade me out for stuff like that. So I just learned a lot about how all of that works. And but it's all great experience, I wouldn't trade any of the failures, because I learned a lot,
Anybody else can relate to that in this room? Yeah. We've all tried a few things, hadn't all worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So all the while you're writing songs, which I know is one of the things that fuels you, that it really does start with the song.
Sure.
And so just to give you guys an idea, John's had songs recorded by Maren Morris, Dierks Bentley, Miranda Lambert, Blake Shelton, Ronnie Dunn, Sam Bush, Pat Green, Scotty McCreery, let's see, Reba McEntire, Patty Loveless, Gary Allen, Kenny Chesney. And that, this is not a full list of the songs that he's written that other people have recorded. Is there one that like stands out to you where you're like, man, that artist nailed that song in a way that's different maybe than I heard it or thought about it when I was writing it, that you could play for us?
This song was not actually written to be a duet. Okay. And I wrote this, obviously I grew up playing bluegrass as we talked about, and so I don't know if y'all listen to much bluegrass, but even the happy songs are about killing somebody. They're all about death and murder. In country music, you get your heart broken and you go to a bar and you get drunk and sit by the jukebox. And in bluegrass music, you kill your lover and you throw her in the river. And then go turn yourself in. I don't ever understand the last verse where you turn yourself in every time. But I grew up on all those dark songs, you know, and when I had this idea for, I was hanging out late at my manager's house, and he made the comment that he was like, yeah, you put a bottle to your head and pulled the trigger last night. And I was like, that's a good idea. I'm just going to write that down. So I started playing around with this chorus, and I knew that, for one thing, is definitely during a time where like people were not recording songs like this, and they weren't saying damn on the radio, and they didn't want us to drink. I was like, who goes to a bar and drinks cola? Like, it's just, you know, there was a weird time, and so when we wrote this song, it was a 4.5-minute sad death song, and we wrote this in April of '98. And I, in my mind, was like, this is just like a cool bluegrass song. And actually, Melanie Cannon, Buddy Cannon's daughter, recorded this on a bluegrass record first. And then Brad Paisley heard it, and they decided to put Alison Krauss on it. And that was the icing on the cake for that song, because we never thought about actually putting a real, you know, angel on a song. But sorry, I put new strings on here because I love y'all, but they're not happy. All right, closeness for bluegrass, they used to say.
Like the burning end of a midnight cigarette, she broke his heart. He spent his whole life trying to forget. We watched him drink his pain away, a little at a time, but he never could get drunk enough to get her off his mind. Until the night he put that bottle to his head and pulled the trigger, and finally blew away her memory. Life is short, but this time it was bigger than the strength he had to get up off his knees. Found him with his face down in the pillow, with a note that said, I'll love her till I die. And when we buried him beneath the willow, the angels sang a whiskey lullaby. La 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 la. She blamed herself for years and years. She tried to hide the whiskey on her breath. She tried to drink her pain away, a little at a time, but she never could get drunk enough to get him off her mind. Until she put that bottle to her head and pulled the trigger. It finally blew away his memory. Life is short, This time it was bigger than the strength she had to get up off her knees. We found her with her face down in the pillow, clinging to his picture for dear life. We laid her next to him beneath the willow, while the angels sang a whiskey lullaby. La 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 la.
Thank you. It's a happy little number.
When I asked that question, I didn't know we were going to go there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This early.
I'm sorry.
Song of the Year, ACM Song of the Year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And golly, what an amazing song.
You know, it's funny. I asked my manager one time after it become a hit. I said, where did you hear that line? And he said, well, I was out in Carthage, Tennessee, in this trailer buying cocaine from this biker. And he had a bunch of guns and whiskey laying on the table, and he handed me the bottle and said, here, put that to your head and pull the trigger. And I was like, okay. Somewhere there's a drug dealer biker that bought me a house. So thank you to the drug dealer biker guy. I appreciate you, man.
Man.
That was awesome.
How's everybody doing out there? Y'all doing okay tonight? Having a good time so far? I want to tell you, for those of you, obviously, this is Mr. John Randall here with us tonight. And next month, I've got my friend Bree Bagwell coming to hang out with us. That will be in September. In October, my friend and another amazing songwriter, vocalist, Mr. Chuck Cannon, is going to be with us in October. In November, my friend from down in Beaumont, Mr. Tracy Bird's going to come hang out with us and sing us a few songs. And then in December, Mr. Michael Hearn is going to be back here with us. It's going to be an amazing. So we're finishing out the year strong, folks.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Thank you guys who have your tickets and come out every time. It's really cool. I kind of feel like I get to be kind of a live DJ. You know, I get to pick what material goes on. Like back in the good old days where they got to do that, and it wasn't corporate control that told them what they had to put on in between the commercials. So thank you guys. And again, we obviously couldn't do this without the support of my three contributing, presenting organizations. The Stella Hotel, where we're sitting right here. If you've never stayed here before and you want to really feel like a rock star, ask for the John Randall Room. And they will hook you up.
Yeah. And then you show up and there's 10 wine glasses already in the room.
We do a little sponsor gathering before the show, and John came in a night early, and they had already put the wine glasses up there, and I think he walked in and saw the wine glasses and was like, what else are they about to send up to the room? Should I call my wife?
Yeah, don't tell my wife that there's 10 wine glasses here waiting on me in the room.
On a Sunday night. So, yes, Stella Hotel, of course, my friends at Lake Walk, this community is just growing and bustling. You see the new corporate headquarters that are relocating here. You see all the amazing retail establishments. By the way, are my friends from Six Whiskey here? Anywhere? Are you back here? Hey, you like my shirt?
I do.
I got this shirt at Six Whiskey, the little boutique right down the way here.
Shirt.
So you need to.
That's a cool shirt.
Go check them out. Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
And just behind me over here, in one of the coolest buildings in the area, are my friends from Blue Forge Alliance. And again, I told you guys, it really, in any kind of artistic endeavor, if you don't have that foundation that allows you to build something on it, you can't make it last for long. Things become a flash in the pan. You can do something once or twice, but if you don't have the support in the arts community, and we see it in schools, we see it everywhere, right? And so Blue Forge really stepped up and ultimately, not only in what we're doing here in this local community, but the way I understand Blue Forge, and it's way above my head, so you'd have to talk to Kylie or Rob or somebody here to get the full story. But the bottom line is these guys go to work every day to make sure that we have the ability, the ingenuity, the infrastructure here in America to be able to produce things that are necessary for us to make sure that we can maintain the quality of life that we have here. And so they're really kind of on the front lines of helping make sure that we have jobs and that we have what we need in the event when our back is against the wall, specifically related to working with the government and defense contractors and those sort of things. So I'm just a songwriter, so it's way above my pay grade, but I understand what you guys are doing out there for us, not only here at the Stella session tonight, but as a nation. So thank you, Blue Forge Alliance, Stella Hotel, Destination Bryan, and Lake Walk for making tonight possible. Okay, so I have to ask, and this may be another one where you're like, dude, I never played that song.
Yeah,
but
probably don't.
Me and my wife have just worn out some of the Gary Allan records. And
wow.
you wrote one of the coolest songs with Gary Allan that we like called She's So California.
Oh, shoot, man.
Do you play,
you know
what?
The problem is I can never get all the verses straight. I never know how that song goes.
You know what?
But you know as well, it's like when somebody cuts a song and they go do it, it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of their thing sometimes, right. You know? It's just hard for me to grab on because he sings it so cool.
He is a very, I mean, from the start of his career, has been just a very interesting cool, vocalist and everything. Okay.
Sorry.
It's really what he's saying is I've got so many hits I can't remember them all.
No, I can't remember.
What do you expect me to do?
No, I can't remember the lyrics at all.
Okay, so you pick another one that's been cut that you're just in love with, or lay something new on us.
I'll play you a cool one here. This is fun. Sorry. It's what I get for having an old guitar. This with I love this story because this is a true story and it's become kind of a shtick story, but it's kind of funny. But I wrote this with Kenny Chesney. So Kenny and I both had signed at RCA at the same time, so we kind of knew each other from, like I said, all these guys and girls and artists, great artists I grew up or came up in the business with, and I had been down in Dallas hanging out with him, and we were just talking about songs and stuff he's looking for. And I had this idea popped in my head, this little riff and this idea, and so I threw some lyrics, threw a little chorus out and whatever. And I sent it to Kenny, and he called me up immediately, and he goes, "Man, I love this." And he goes, "Let's." He goes, "Can we finish this? I want to write this with you?" And I said, "Yeah, man." I said. Yeah, when you want to get together? He goes, "Man, let's just write it right now." So I was like, "Okay, well, I can come over to your house. I can be there in 20 minutes." And he goes, "No, man, I'm down at the island," because he has an island. And I'd heard Brett James tell the story about Kenny calling him on Christmas Eve and saying, "Hey, why don't you fly down here to the island and let's write some songs. And he went down there and wrote 2 number ones within like the first 2 hours they were there. So I was like, oh, cool. He's going to send a jet. I'm going to fly down to the island. This is going to be awesome. I said, well, cool. I'm waiting on hey, I'll send you a jet and I'll come pick you up. He goes, let's just write it over the phone. So I was like, all right, cool. And so I sat at my island, my kitchen island, and he was at his island, and we wrote this over the phone. This was on that Saints, Songs and Saints, the one for the island. Yeah.
Wish I was a pirate shipwrecked down in Mexico, where the oceans turn to silver and the beaches turn to gold. I'd make love to every senorita in that town. I'd get on my boat and I'd sail the ocean round. Wish I was a pirate out there under my own flag, running for no reason and no reason to turn back. Salt and rum on my tongue, sails tattered and torn, laughing in the devil's face and riding out a storm. Ooh, one of these days, off of this highway, wake up in some bay with the sunshine on my face, and St. Christopher on a silver chain, say a prayer and sail away. Off of this highway, wake up in some bay with the sunshine on my face, and St. Christopher on a silver chain, say a prayer and sail away. I wish I was a pirate on some ghost ship in the night, with nothing but the stars, the moon, and faith to be my guide. Steady as she goes, with my back to the wind, and in a cloud of cannon smoke I disappear again.
Thank you. I'm not going to tell my Kenny story.
Come on, tell it.
Well, a few years ago, my wife and I got invited to ride on a catamaran through the British Virgin Islands. Uh-huh. So we were on that catamaran, and it was our friends that owned Do-Si-Do down in the Woodlands, and we were driving by, and somebody said, look, there's Kenny Chesney's house. And I thought, man, I should have been nicer to that guy. I met him in Nashville. He had just gotten signed to Acuff Rose And I showed up in town for my very first time with a cassette tape demo driving my Mustang that took a quart of oil every time I filled it up with gas.
Yeah, I had one of those.
And I got to Nashville and I played my tape for the writer relations guy at BMI at the time was Clay Bradley, and he said, you got to go down and meet my uncle, and I want you to meet Troy Goodwin and some of these other guys down there, and tell them I sent you. And so I went down there, and they said, yeah, we just signed this new writer from Georgia, and y'all go sit down, go sit in a room. And went in there, and we kind of met each other and sized each other up, and played each other some demos and that kind of stuff. And the next day, Clay asked me to come back and go to Aaron Tippin's Go record party there in the parking lot of Acuff Row. So I did that. And Kenny was there, and he had just gotten signed to his deal, and so I'm sure I had a little bit of jealousy going on because I was hoping to get a publishing deal. But anyway, I just remember walking out of there and going, I don't like that guy. He's kind of a jerk. He's not very cool. So he's probably not going to amount to anything. Whose house is that we're sailing by? No, we had a little back and forth and swapped some song ideas around and stuff, and just nothing landed, nothing stuck.
He and I were in. So do you remember when Fanfare used to be at the fairgrounds before Nashville turned into this thing? It used to be at the Funky Fairgrounds. And all the record companies had these booths. And when you were a new artist, your gig was to sit in there all day until the famous people showed up and try to win fans over. And people come through your line. So me and Kenny are hanging out because he hadn't had a hit yet either. We're just hanging out. And we're, signing some autographs. There's probably 50 people in our line, which is great. Doing what we should do and meet all the fans. And all of a sudden we hear this commotion, and here comes Billy Ray Cyrus. He was the biggest thing in the world with that dumbass Achy Breaky Heart song, the biggest thing in the world. And he comes rolling down, and he's got this entourage. He looks like Elvis. He's in leather. It's the whole thing. And he walks past us, and he's on the table, like the booth across from us. He jumps up on top of the thing and starts moonwalking. And everybody just goes, and we sat there for 2 hours watching, just me and Kenny sitting there watching Billy Ray Cyrus sign autographs.
That's hilarious.
And going, what are we doing wrong? I have a mullet. I had a great mullet. You wouldn't know it now, but I had a fantastic mullet.
So anyway. What did Kenny think about Tin Man?
I don't know.
Did he have any? Because one of his big, like when he first put out that first record, his song was called
there's a
Tin
couple
Man.
of Tin Man titles out there, but I don't think it's in the same world as that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He hadn't said anything to me about it, so I guess we're good.
That's funny. Can I play you a song?
Yeah, please.
Manny, my light's out on my tuner, so I'm hoping it's still. Am I muted? Hello, Manny. Aha, it's working. So we were upstairs in the green room talking with our friends from Blue Forge and some of their guests this evening. And I wrote this song not too long ago with a guy named Cleto Cordero of Flatland Cavalry. And we've written 2 or 3 songs together. This one is really kind of my favorite. And I love the song, and I love the fact that I got a voice memo from him that he was working on it. But the coolest part was where he was, and the folks that are here with the Blue Forge people this evening are associated with Fenway Park, correct? And so I get this demo from Cleto, and it has the title of the song and then the location where he recorded it. Well, their bus was parked in the parking lot of Fenway. So it says, Falling Back to You, Fenway Park. So I will keep that forever because I thought it was kind of cool. It's the only time one of my songs has been played at Fenway Park. got a black hole behind my shirt pocket, heartache gravitating like a failed rocket, brain fogging, hope stalling, feeling what it's like to be a raindrop falling, painting the shades of gray across blue, and sinking down, spinning around the truth, falling through, falling back to you. Oh, lover, I remember the sweet embrace of surrender. What I need is where you are. Heaven only knows why I run so far, painting shades of gray across blue, and sinking down and spinning around the truth of falling through, falling back to you. Falling through, falling back to you. I fight like hell to try and keep it in control, when all I need is to let go. I'm falling through, falling back to you. Falling through, falling back to you.
Yeah, man. That's pretty. Thank you.
That was so pretty.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Y'all still doing okay out there? I see some people ordering drinks. I see everybody having a good time. Y'all look so good tonight. When's the last time you were in Bryan, Texas?
It's been a long time.
Well, we're glad you're
It's been
back.
a long time. I'm glad to be here. It's fun. It's grown up out here. since I was
Dude,
here. It's
telling you.
popping. So nice.
Telling you, there was no place. You know, we were cutting our teeth around this town playing songs, and there was nowhere this nice.
Yeah.
to
Like
play.
this right here?
No, this was not where we
It was
were.
beautiful. Also stopped in Dime Box on the way and got my picture. Y'all been to Dime Box, right? Do you know where that? You know what song that's in?
All right, I've kind of been leading you all over
Hang on
tonight.
real quick.
You play.
South of Oklahoma, east of the second verse is Amarillo, east of Old Dime Box. You can find your Cinderella or a genuine Goldilocks. And if you don't like love attachments and your taste in women is strange, yeah, go on spend your money, my friend, down in Old LaGrange. You gotta tell it to the world. You're gonna get a Lone Star girl with them cast iron curls and aluminum dimples. Oh, it's so simple. You know, Willis Allen Ramsey. Don Box is in Northeast Texas Women, which is one of the best Texas songs. I know Northeast Texas Women with the cotton candy hair. What a line, man! That's the bar right there.
He set the bar very high for himself.
He set the bar very high.
All right, I've kind of been leading you all over the place.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pick one you want to play for us?
I don't know. I'll do this one, maybe. Something somebody knows, maybe. I wrote this when I was 11. My wife hates that joke. We're at that part now where it's like dad jokes anymore. She just rolls her eyes and like, oh God, are we doing this again?
Now you can introduce them to your wife Jessie, who is quite the accomplished
songwriter. The real rock star in our family is my wife. Her name's Jessie Alexander. Incredible singer, incredible songwriter. Has written some unbelievable songs. We have this ongoing thing. So I wrote Whiskey Lullaby, and she wrote a song called I Drive Your Truck. And I don't know if you know that song, but it's sad. And every couple of years, like Billboard will do like top saddest songs. And it's always like Whiskey, He Stopped Loving Her Today, and I Drive Your Truck are all kind of... Now Stapleton wrote the song about the dog. That's kind of a cheap shot to write a song about a dog dying. I mean, there's no way to like be sadder than that. But there's all this ongoing thing because every now and then it's like one of us will be ahead of the other one, you know. So it's like who has the saddest song? But she was. Really, this is a great story for anybody that's a songwriter or just trying to get your career off the ground. She'd been in Nashville. She'd been dogging it. I just had Whiskey Lullaby. Had just gotten Song of the Year, and I was kind of on cloud nine. And she was on her second publishing deal, and she was just really struggling and was kind of thinking of throwing the towel in. And which would, if you ever hear her sing, it'll break your heart to think that she ever thought about quitting because she's phenomenal. And I'm not saying that because I'm married to her. I'm just saying check it out and you'll believe me. But she's writing for Disney Publishing, and Miley Cyrus records The Climb. And so just when she's ready to quit, she has a 15-week number one. That's her first hit, is a 15-week number one, which is insane. And I was like, then I wasn't so cool with Whiskey Lullaby. I was like, I love it though. But she's the rock star. She's special. Y'all know this one, maybe. Mr. Tin Man, you don't know how lucky you are. Shouldn't spend your whole life wishing on something bound to fall apart. Every time you're feeling empty, better thank your lucky stars. 'Cause if you ever felt one breaking, you'd never want a heart.
You don't wanna in pieces now. By the way there, Mr. Tin Man, if you don't mind the scars, then you give me your arm, and you can have my heart. Thank you, guys.
Another song of the year. Okay, yep, I almost forgot to have you do the liner to kick off the radio show.
Okay.
So you're going to say, this is John Randall, and this is real life, real music.
Okay.
And then you guys are going to go absolutely nuts. Okay? Can y'all do that? Okay, all right.
Hi, this is John Randall. You're listening to NPR. I'm going to talk very soft and boring for you. No, I'm kidding.
Real music, real life.
Real life, real music. I knew it the other backwards. Hey, y'all, this is John Randall, and you're listening to Real Life, Real Music. Yes.
All right, take two.
I'll give it
Take two. And
life,
because they may be watching the video podcast and not listening to it. So this is John Randall, and this is Real Life, Real Music.
This is John Randall, and this is Real Life, Real Music.
Perfect. That was great. That was great. Okay. Man, we've got time for one more.
Okay.
Yeah, but the debacle is that you've got to pick how to land the plane. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to say one more. First off, thank you. All of you, especially who are founding members that bought tickets for a year's worth of shows where you didn't know who was coming. Thank you for trusting me to curate 12 of your Monday nights in 2024. I'm already thinking about 2025, whether any of my partnering sponsors or co-presenters are. So I'll reach out about that. But I've got a laundry list of folks who are ready to come hang out with us here at the Stella Hotel. And so thank you guys, ticket holders, for trusting us with your time, with your money. Destination Brian, John, your people there, thank you for everything you do to support culture in the community. Lake Walk, thanks for building a beautiful community where we can come hang out. Stella Hotel, of course, sitting in my uncle's living room. Uncle Spencer. And thank you guys for everything you do. Blue Forge Alliance, thank you once again. I hope you guys from the Northeast had a nice time, Texas time with us this evening. And if you didn't, it's all Kylie's fault. So, and last but not least, John, I know kids are starting school.
Yeah, man.
You're doing a lot of back and forth to Texas.
Loving it.
I appreciate you taking time out of you and your family's schedule. Tell Jesse thank you for loaning you to us tonight.
Thank you for having me. You guys are awesome. This is fun. Really fun. Great show.
Well,
congrats, man. Congrats on a great show. Great venue. Yeah, man.
Okay, so I do want to do this, and we'll do this in like the 122nd version.
Okay.
But all of your experience is now added up to, I'm going to say musician, songwriter, recording artist, producer, has now all added up to kind of another leg in your music career, which is your partnership with Miranda Lambert and other folks on, I'm going to call it a record label for lack of a better term, extension of a record label,
it's a record label,
where you're going to help singer-songwriters specifically from Texas reach their full potential as recording artists.
That's the plan. That is the plan. Yeah.
Tell us about about that.
We have a great partner. This has come my way a few times, and we finally found a partner that presented this opportunity to us, and it's just Miranda. The Marfa Tapes changed mine and Miranda's thought process a lot. We've had this great career. We know our way around Nashville. We've learned so much, and there's some things that Nashville does very well that I feel like we can bring into the conversation to connect things so that Austin can start and Texas can start having its own place. We want our own office there. We want to make records there. We want to do our own thing here, but have the capacity to take it bigger. And I think we have found the right partner in the right situation. We cut Miranda's record at Arlen Studio. Just kind of put our money where our mouth is, cut it with Austin players. There's great musicians, great studios, great artists. We all know that. You guys are here for that very reason. But it's connecting everyone and giving everybody a home base is kind of what we're wanting to do, and give back to the state that raised us, you know? This is where we learned it, so that's what we're doing. It'll be fun.
Well, you let us know what we can do in Bryan, Texas to help with
man.
that.
Hey, just keep doing this. Ready. Keep curating this. Give us somewhere to come play music. This is awesome.
You got it. All right, well, take us home.
Well, all right. Y'all want an art piece, or you want something really ridiculously silly that was a hit? A silly? Yes. Okay. Because if not, it's going to be like another sad good night. Good night. I'll do this one. I wrote this with Dirks, so you're going to love this. Dirks being one of our old friends, and I made a bluegrass record on him, produced a record. It was called Up on the Ridge. And it was a really cool record, and it was very artsy, you know, and the Grammys loved it, and the critics loved it, which means radio hated it. and so the record label was like, what are you doing? You know, you just had your 15th number one, and you're going to go make a bluegrass record with him. And so we snuck off, we made this record. Well, now we got to make the next record. It's like that record did everything we wanted, but now we got to get back and be on the radio. And he had this really cool little farm outside of town, or up in, kind of in the hills. And we went out there with Jim Beavers, I don't know if you know Jim, but Jim Beavers, he's an East Texas guy. He's from Jacksonville, Texas. He wrote a ton of those hit songs with Dirks. And Dirks was like in this really heady space. He's like, man, I just want to go up there and I want to write like a song of the year. I want to be like, really peel back the layers and get deep, you know? And we wrote this piece of shit, and instead of what we would have, and I was producing the record, and I was even like, man, are we really going to record this song? Like, really? And it's like, yeah, let's just record it. And then I'll be damned if it wasn't like one of the biggest hits he ever had. So what do I know? And I'm running a record label now, right? So there you go. And we had this guy that nobody had ever heard of named Chris Stapleton singing harmony on this. Seriously, like, no, that's like, we all knew who he was, but everybody's like, yeah, who's this guy singing harmony on this? So next time you hear that, Chris Stapleton's singing on this. Well, it was Friday in the PM, just like every weekend, I was ready to throw down. Yeah, get a little tore up, so I called my bros up to meet me out on the town. Yeah, and Wild Man Willie said I'd like to really, but Idol was on TV. Yeah, and Ray had a date with his wife, and Nate quit drinking, but he didn't tell me. Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight? Is there anybody out there who wants to have a cold beer, kick it till the morning light? If I have to raise hell all by myself, well, but y'all, that ain't right. It's time to get it on. Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight? Well, I was flying solo down to Silverado's, joined looking like a morgue, when this country cutie with a rock and roll booty. We put rock and roll booty. It was gonna be R&B, and then we thought we might get in trouble for that, so we just went with rock and roll. Booty came strutting in through the door. I can't believe it. Well, who wants to dance? And fired up the band with a Franklin and a shot of Patron. Then she looked right at me, said, what's it gonna be? Are you gonna make me party alone? Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight? Is there anybody out there who wants to have a cold beer, kick it with the morning light? If I have to raise hell all by myself, well, but y'all, that ain't right. It's time to get it on. Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight? To have fun tonight. Tell me I'm not now. Is there anybody out there who wants to have a Chardonnay Cabernet and kick it till the morning light? If I have to raise hell all by myself, well, but y'all, that ain't right. It's time to get it on. Am I the only one who wants to have fun tonight? Yeah, come on, get your good time on. Let's have a little fun tonight. That's so funny. I love you guys. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Really
Mr.
fun.
John Randall.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. That was fun, dude. Oh, I love it.